How are you?
Oh my gosh, we finally meet in person. This is so amazing.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Finally, we get to sit and talk.
It, it's, the sit and talk thing. The sit, this sit and talk thing. We still praying about it.
Yeah.
Technology is.
Excuse me?
I was just gonna say technology is just so amazing. Like the way we've been conversing over the past few days, and then like boom, now we in person. That's crazy.
We are connected now. Thanks to technology, there's nothing like boundaries now. I mean, it's made the world smaller and
Mhm.
people can get to talk whenever they want to, if only they want to
Exactly.
talk. Yeah,
Exactly. You can literally be in the middle of the ocean having a whole conversation with a person.
exactly. Exactly. I agree. How are you? And I want to greet your viewers and your subscribers. I'm Ekow, and I'm
Yes.
so much thankful to Juss and everyone for having me on your channel.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I mean, it was kind of last minute, so I'm just like extremely grateful that you had the moment to come and spend. So it means a lot. Hello. Okay, we have people tuning in. Great, great, great. So I
Yeah,
know we're a little late. We were supposed to start this thing at 8 and it's like 8:05, but we
mm,
didn't do too bad, Black people time.
yeah,
We're doing
yeah. That's
great. How
fine.
are you? Thank you for joining.
All
Thank you
right,
for
thanks for
joining.
joining. I'm very happy to be on your channel.
Yes, thank you for coming. And I have to be on your channel very soon.
Yeah,
So we got to keep this
yeah.
this rotation
And yeah,
happening.
I'm even talking to your subscribers. It's that channel.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I guess let's just get into this discussion about we're discussing African American versus African perspective tonight. And
Uh,
basically just giving our African perspective on Africa. So I
mm,
feel like, me coming from the States, that my perception of just the way things operate here, and sometimes like, the responses from people is just like totally different and something that I'm still constantly finding myself adjusting to. So I know for you, like you was born and raised here your whole life. So,
sure, yeah.
you have like a better understanding overall of the way things work. And, you speak the local language, which is always a plus. So
Exactly.
I feel like for me, that is probably like one of the dividing factors for, life for me here, because I'm still like learning the language small, small. So I find it to be sometimes challenging, like when I'm trying to communicate, and just I think coming from America, you have like
Mm,
a certain perspective. Even when you make the conscious decision to come here, you still have like a certain perspective that you have been taught, living in the States, because they do
exactly.
really like try to, I feel like, brainwash you, against Africa.
Mm.
So I constantly find myself
So typically,
not only adjusting to the culture here, but
mm,
also constantly battling with that, that that thing that they've been, just battling with what I've been taught.
mm, exactly. So typically, what was your thoughts before you landed in Africa in Ghana? What
Mhm.
was your perception about Ghana?
Was my first perception?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's hot.
Okay.
It was so hot. My first thought.
Excuse me, just a moment, please. Just a moment. Just a moment.
Okay, well, at least we all got our kids here tonight, and it's just not me on this live being ratchet right now.
I have a company here. I have a company here. So what was your as a moment, please? What was your typically what came to your mind when you heard of Africa before you came to Ghana?
So before I came to Ghana, I just kind of had at that point did away with like what I've been taught about Africa. And it was more so like a longing really in my spirit to want to come and visit. And so I started like following a bunch of different people on YouTube who was here, doing the footwork, showing, different places and things of that nature. So I really overall had a good perspective and good energy, I feel, making the decision to come to Africa. Like when I planned my trip here, it was all, I was like totally in a mindset like I'm going to find my roots, I'm going back to, what our lands is, to just rediscovering myself and getting back that sense of identity. So that's kind of where I was at when I made the decision to come.
That's good. So, it's very important that we keep talking and we collaborate more because you are not probably not everybody's like you. Okay, you have your own consciousness to come to the continent to find things out yourself. All right, but I've been on this YouTube I think for quite some time, and sometimes I see some comment from our African American family, and it's so surprising. But I don't blame them because here in Africa,
Hmm.
we saw African Americans, all right, through the lens, through TV, all right. The only time we got to know or to see your perspective is when we see you in the movies, all right. And the movies we see, when we see the white people, we
Hmm.
saw heroism. We see Rambo. We see Savior. We see salvation. We see heroism. We see ambition and all of that. And whenever we think of African Americans, what we were seeing was I mean guns, thugs. I mean music video. I mean showing some exposing themselves and all this kind of stuff that typically African parents wouldn't be proud of. All right. So we had this preconceived mind about African Americans that hey, they are this group of people, they are this kind of people. All right. So for me, getting to talk to people like you and thanks to this year of return and all the things that's been happening in Ghana, having to know some African American and before thinking about them to be very aggressive people, I mean, did not surprise me because I started learning and doing things myself, right? Before I got into close contact with them. So for me, it didn't surprise me. I was like, oh, I think we've been lied to all along. And that's what some of us, we want to change. That's why some of us, we want to engage with, want to, like what you're doing, giving us opportunity to have this kind of engagement so that we can better understand ourselves. Because
Right.
if someone is telling us that, hey, um, our advice or portraying our family in the diaspora not to be so good that we should be very careful about them and they are aggressive and the reason why we attack them is because they are aggressive and they are criminals and all these kind of stuffs. And you in US or you in the diaspora, you also made to believe that Africans we are not good enough, we can't manage ourselves, we cannot take care of our country, we are a mess and all that. And these kind of people are in the middle, so they tell the narrative. So it's very important and it's very interesting that now we get to talk directly. We get to interact directly to better
Exactly.
understand ourselves and our position. And I'm very happy with what you're doing. God bless you so much. And I hope it wouldn't be only me. There'll be a lot more people coming on board,
Mhm.
having different, especially having African Caribbean, African Americans, I mean African diaspora getting to talk with African, continental Africa to better understand ourselves. That's the only way that we can stop this so-called cultural war, diaspora war, where it looks like whenever Africans comes to America, they snitch on us, or sorry, they snitch on the African Americans there. They
Mhm.
partner with their oppressors and all that because before we even met, we don't even trust each other. We have this kind of preconceived mind
No,
towards or prejudice towards each other. So
exactly.
we hope conversation like that will keep on.
Right. And I feel like that's like one of the major issues is that, not only do we got the others, looking at us crazy, but then we look at at each other crazy. And it's like, we have to find some type of common denominator here, which is we all have brown skin. That's the
Mhm.
one common denominator in this all. And so that the quicker that realization and that understanding, along with, understanding, working to understand each other, we'll get somewhere very quick and very far, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel
Yeah.
like I just feel like, slavery just played like, plays a big, role in this whole situation. And, it's all just coming back to it's all just a matter of coming back to ourselves and just, relearning each other, relearning our culture for us mostly. Because, coming from America, we know literally nothing about being here in Africa other than what we've been shown or what we've been told. But other than that, we don't have any understanding, to a certain extent. So it's a matter of coming here and then adjusting, not only to life here, but you guys also adjusting to us being here. Because I'm sure just like I have frustrations in certain areas when it comes to interacting, with the people that are have already been here, you guys experience the same thing on on from us. Like, I'm pretty sure it comes with frustration. Maybe we do things a certain way that you're not used to, or speak a certain way, or and so I feel like it always has to constantly be that conversation of how can we come together and make things better, because after all, communication is like the number one key to any situation. So
Exactly. Exactly. Is
yeah.
that that's the only way we get to know the truth, what really happened. Because as part of the healing process, people
Mhm.
should get to know what really happened. All right. I did a video. I visited what is supposed to be the very first slave dungeon in Africa. All right. It's in
Mhm.
my city called Shoma. Right. It's not popular. It's not popular, but that's the first one of the first slave castles that was built right by the Europeans. And the story behind that slave castle is a little bit very awkward. This the colonizers, right? The colonizers came
Mhm.
to tell the community that they are there to help them. They came to them with Christianity. Like I'm a Christian myself, all right? So I don't have any problem with that. But they came to them as they came to be masqueraded. They came present themselves to be good people, and they
Mhm.
backed it up with some good job, right? We built a street light, candle powered or kerosene powered street light for this community, did wonderful things. So the community saw it's like, wow, who are these people? And we told them that we can help you to become like us, can help you develop your community just like we are doing, all right? So
Mhm.
what we want to do to you is we want to do for you is to give us your people, give us your youths, all right? We're going to take them to our country, train them to be better people, then we can bring them, all right? And one thing about the castle that they built is once you get in there, within the castle, within the walls of the castle, you're able to see, have a bird eye view of the community, have a panorama like view of the community, see whatever is going on there. But when you are in the community, you can't see. You see very small holes, but that small holes behind the walls, very big hole that they see everything that goes on there. So
Mhm.
how we talk to them, they talk to the community that hey, we want to help you, we want to take your children or your youth or your husband or your men, then train them and bring them back to Africa. Everybody will be excited that wow, we want people to develop our country so that they can also be able to manufacture sugar, build street light, build roads, do things that we see without needing to have anyone come to help us. So they gave them to them, and these people, whenever, as soon as they enter the castle, nothing is said of them again. If you go within the castle, it's serious. I mean, they have tunnels, they have state dungeons, and whenever anybody was sick within the castle, he was killed instantly. It's
Mhm.
either you go to the Atlantic, across the Atlantic, or you die there. So they were able to build a tunnel under the castle to some part of the sea where they ship I mean, they transport the slaves through the underground, then to where the boat's going to take them. All right. And
Wow.
now no one in the community was able to hear him. So a
Mhm.
time came that the community began to ask these people that, where are our brothers? It's been 10 years, 20 years. You told them you're going to develop, going to acquire skill, upskill, and then they come back, but we don't get to see them. Then these colonizers came up with some stories like, oh, we know, but it turns out that they don't want to come back. All right, some of we don't even see where they are. We don't know where they are. They go and they don't want to come. They gave us so many stories. So it came to a point in time where the villagers or the community saw that each person is having the same story. They were telling everyone pretty much the same story. How can you tell me that my son don't want to come back and tell another person that their son don't want to come back? Tell us almost the same story. So they revolted That was when these people really, should I say, the Christ told them that, hey, let's be very frank with you. This is the end of the game. We are now our slaves. We are now over you. So they overpowered the entire community. And no few people know about this story. And these are the places that people should go to learn the story. That's the place they have the gravestone of the first black person to ever school in Europe. This man was sent to Europe as an experiment to test or to see if black man can think like the white, if the black man, if he's educated, can be able to think or behave or I mean come up with some theories or like behave like the white scholars. The first person was buried there. The moment he landed in Ghana, they captured him in the castle until he died in the barrel because they didn't want anybody to know whatever he saw. They didn't want anybody to hear his story. All right. But this is kind of the stuff that we don't know. We all know of Kipu's castle and that castle. We forget that we have about 32 slave dungeons or so-called castles. All right. In Ghana alone, not to talk of Nigeria, Badagry, and all these people.
Mm-hmm.
So if people do not know about this story, I say this because I get a lot of comment, people saying that Africans we sold them willingly. I have to
Yes,
agree that there were people who,
that's like the main narrative. Yeah.
even during the unfortunate evil Holocaust, all right.
Mm-hmm.
They have some pockets of Jews who were collaborators, who were like even during the Cold War, they have some Americans as spies and all that. So you can find bad people within our own community to always collaborate or conspire with the evil people to do evil stuff. So you don't disagree that there were pockets of people who were trying to profiteer from this whole thing. But the history is visible that we resisted. Who the hell would just look at their children, their husbands, their brothers being forcibly taken away from them without resistance? It doesn't make any
Right.
sense. I mean,
Right.
so it's important that this story is made known to everybody to know that hey, we are both lied to. Those
Mm-hmm.
who tried to resist were not powerful enough, so we're overpowered. It's now past. It's about time that we come together to rebuild, to forgive, to love. Because I've learned in life that when you have a hatred in your hearts, um,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get to move forward. Because the same Bible that they used to enslave is the same Bible that they used to liberate people. All right.
Right.
They use the Bible to justify slavery and they use the same Bible to liberate people. All right. So it depends on how you handle things. So it's about time that we as Black people heal, we come together, then we can look ahead or can forge ahead to build the community that we can be respected. Right? Because at the end of the
Mm.
day, they
Get
don't
out.
say you are black from Ghana or whatever. They see to be black, you're black, you're black.
Right. Absolutely. Hold on. We have a few questions. I'm trying to figure out how to get. I see the. Okay, here they go. So we have some questions. Someone says the background echo is way too loud. On whose part? My part or his part?
Um,
Um, we have another comment that says, as Black people continue to connect with Ghana and her people, what do you think is the general opinion of Ghanaians? I ask because cultures can clash.
right? You want general opinion about Ghanaians? I mean, what they think about Americans? Sorry, what they think about African Americans?
Yes. What is Ghanaian? What is Ghanaian think about Americans?
Yeah, I think it's very positive. I have to be. I'm not saying this because I'm a Ghanaian. Ghanaians are naturally friendly, all right. And with a history, if you go to the streets and ask an average Ghanaian about African American, they know the basic story, all right. And
Hmm.
one thing about Ghanaians is we believe in heritage, right? We believe that as long as you were part of us and you were taken away from us, you are still part of us. We believe in that, all right. The
Hmm.
problem now is our story is not being told like it's supposed to. So the young people are not getting to know who African Americans are. All right. Thank
Hmm.
God because of these activities. I mean, pan Let me tell you a story. When I was in the primary school, right,
Hmm.
I were then taught briefly about the slave trade. All right, we're taught about slave trade and all that. I did not feel the impact until when I went to junior high school. We went for a session at Arena Castle or Cape's Castle, one of them. And at the castle, the narrator or the tour guide, should I say, was just narrating the whole story, the whole deal, all right, to all of us. And if you've been to Cape Coast Castle, the place is very strong. I mean, there's some strong presence there. I don't know if you've been there before. If you go to, especially the place where the slaves were held, there's some spiritual. I mean, the place with some strong, powerful force there. It was as if there are real people living there, right? There's a strong presence there actually. So when I went there, I felt it. I felt as the guy was telling the story, even before he started telling us the evil or the gruesome evil activities that were made to go through. I felt there were some people there. I felt it. I felt the heaviness that some people were, some part of me were maltreated there, right?
Mhm.
Then it came to a point in time where there were a lot of white people and African Americans there. It came to a point in time where I saw a lady just burst out. I mean, she started wailing uncontrollably. She started crying, just weeping. It shocked me because, like, I was just listening to the story, what was going and all that. I was like shocked, all right, but I didn't feel like crying, all right. But seeing this woman crying uncontrollably, and then seeing another white man walking to that woman and saying to her that we are sorry. The white
Mhm.
man was telling the lady that they are sorry, all right, was really interesting to me, right? It's really shocked me. Then I felt like, wow, so this slave trade, we in Africa, we
Mhm.
downplay a lot, all right? And we downplay it because we see the castles and all these places to be an historical monument instead of instead of a relic of remembrance for our family that was supposed to be taken away from us. All right.
Mhm.
And it's becoming worse now because you don't get young people being told a story about slave trade and all these kind of stuff. All right. So it's about time that I don't know. We can't wait for the government to tell our story. Can't wait for the government to tell us what happened. We as parents, we have to let our younger brother know that we have family outside. So with them growing that consciousness, I
Mhm.
believe they will know that they have some family who were possibly taken away from us. Therefore, reviving the Pan Africanism, which is already embedded in us. All right. So in Ghana here, we generally know what happened. So average Ghanaian will tell that African Americans were part of us, but they were taken, so we believe they are part of us. But even though they say it, they don't feel like an African American will feel it.
Mhm. You said even in the states. What was what it was the end of what you said?
I'm just, even at this stage, this current state, all right.
Uh,
When an African American, when African or when a Ghanaian is being asked, what do you think of African Americans? They will go ahead to say, oh, we believe they are part of us. They were part of they are the descendants of our ancestors, right? They can say all that, but they don't feel the way an African American feels,
right.
right? They will just say it. It's like it becomes like a theory or a story, like what we read in the Bible, like a historic something, but they don't tell it with connection, right?
Exactly.
Because the story of slave trade is not well taught in our schools today. It's about
Mhm.
time that we revive the Africa. It's about time that even though we don't intend to, we have to forgive, we have to move forward. We have to, forgive our oppressors, I believe, or colonizers, but we should not forget, all right? We
Exactly.
should not forget that happened. All right. With that being said, we can have our descendants growing up to know that at the end of the day, they still have family across the Atlantic that they have to collaborate and work together to build stronger partnership and relationship or community.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that that is so important is not only understanding our past, because
Mhm.
that's obviously so important when we're considering moving into the future. We have to understand where we were at one point in time, but also understand that doesn't define us. And
Mhm.
so we have to constantly be working to kind of, get to know each other and to, come together like minded without, the arguing. And because I always, it's like this, so this familiar story in the States that Africans don't like African Americans. And a lot of times you hear the reverse, African Americans often have issues with Africans, they scammers, so they have like this negative, connotation when it comes to that African people. When you really sit down and you really think about it, we are one and the same people. So,
Yeah.
I am you and you and me. You are me. You're African, I'm African American, but at the same time, we are the same person. We,
No.
come from the same continent. So it's like, and again, it just goes with how slavery has really, played a huge part in just tearing us apart mentally, physically, emotionally. And it's a lot of damage that has to be done. And it's going to take a lot of work to get us back to a healthy place of under, understanding, number one, and number two, helping to build up the African continent.
Somebody wrote that I think someone just commented that some of the tour guides at these castles or these historic places should prepare the minds of the guests or visitors. All right.
They should
I
do.
think well, I think if you go there, I
Hmm.
don't know how you'll be able to do that, but if you go there without even being told the story, you feel the impact. You feel it. All right. So I don't know how. I think so because sometimes it gets a little bit messy. I remember at very young age seeing people crying here and there. It was really, it wasn't really a conducive atmosphere for me at that time because I was then very young, but it's lived with me. I mean, that experience has been with me all these years. All right.
Right.
So I agree, but sometimes I believe it should be real. It should feel as real as it's supposed to
Oh,
be.
it has to be real. Yeah. It should absolutely not be forced to fake. Like, it has to be a real life thing. Like, we're all working towards this. And I feel like the rest of the world already hates us. Like we got the whole others against us all the time. So we gonna just continue to hate each other too. Like where we ever gonna get?
No, this is what I think. This is what I think, right? If you look at Africa, right? Africa now, with all this, I mean, whatever is happening to the continent, we are still sitting on more than 60% of the entire Earth's arable land.
Mhm.
We are underdeveloped, which means there are a lot of developmental opportunities here in
Exactly.
Africa, right?
Yeah.
So much opportunity here. And
Hmm.
as a business, for corporations, for big corporate firms, it's in their interest to lead the way to make more money, grow with development to make money. All right. So we see the Chinese, we see the Europeans um, pumping money when they want to. All right.
Hmm.
So it's in their interest that African Americans who have been able to learn from the Western world, learn their technology, learn all sort of acquire various skills to come and build. Because if they see Africa as their true home and they come and decide to build, they will lose out. I watched
Hmm.
the video and someone said that they will never let Africa go. And you may hate them, but it's like the survival of the fittest. It's either I survive or you survive. It's here or I mean, like it's either I survive or you survive. It's not both of us. Unfortunately, that's the kind of world. So the Chinese always want to have the upper hand. The Europeans have the upper hand,
Hmm.
but they would want black people to come here and then have the upper hand because
Exactly.
it would be at their disadvantage.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, some black people are not even realizing it.
Hmm.
Would you prefer that Europeans, and I don't have any issue with Europeans. I mean, like, we are all human beings, and at the end of the day, it's business, all right? If you see an opportunity, I have after doing my after completing my national service, the first company I worked for was in European company, was all white company. I was then the only black person. I had,
Well.
I mean, good and bad experiences there, all right?
Mhm.
One of my direct boss, before he came to Ghana, the day that he was told I was coming to Ghana, he felt sick. Anytime he remembers that he had to come to Ghana, he gets fever. I mean, the idea of coming to Africa was like how do you call it? A torture. All
Is my
right.
speaker low? Someone's commented
Yeah,
about my speaker. Can you hear me?
yeah, yes, yes.
You can hear me.
Anytime, anytime it was told that was supposed to come to Africa, it was like a torture. All right.
Mhm.
So this guy came to Africa finally because he thought we are on trees and that diseases and sickness and all of that. So come to Africa means he's coming to die or will have to endure some brutal. Then he came to Ghana, then he was shocked. And the person who didn't want to come to Ghana anyway now has built a company in Ghana, he's built houses. So he doesn't want to go back to Europe.
Mm.
All right.
Mhm.
So if my African American brother or sister tells me that, hey, you want us to come and help you build our country, not coming, then what you're trying to tell me that you're not coming, so we should let the Chinese and the Europeans come and take. But guess what? One day, the next 20, 50 years, you will regret because at that time, you look back home to where you felt that it wasn't your home anyway. And you see that the people that you feel they were oppressing you there are now taking over there. It's a
Mm.
missed opportunity. All right. So it's for some of us, we feel that it's better. All right. We don't have any problem with anyone, but it's better to have our own people buying the land close to us because
Right.
of what they went through. All right. We feel that it's their right. They have the right to own the lands. All right.
Mhm.
They have the right to be seen as the first point to get opportunities before anyone else.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
So we hope
I feel like it's, a whole lot of brown skinned people on this earth. So when will we ever even need the others to come in and invest in our own land? Like we need to take the initiative to do that ourselves, and we don't need nobody else for nothing. When you
yeah.
think of like the majority of wealth for Black people in the states is huge, like it's enormous, but we don't really see it because we so busy always in the state struggling and working to pay bills and working to pay off debt and things of that nature. So we don't really understand. I think the level that we hold when it comes to finances. We don't understand
Mhm.
our position, but we put all our money together and we come back to Africa and begin to build. We're not going to need another soul. We're not going to need a Chinese or a European or none of them.
Yes. Yes. And let me tell you something. The person who was in charge of the NASA, the launch of the NASA Mars rover, all right, it's called Professor Ashike or something. He's schooled in my city, he's a Ghanaian, all right. He's a chief engineer at NASA. He was in charge of the rover, the land, is it the rover project, the rover robot project that went to do some projects in the space. He's a chief engineer in NASA. He's a Ghanaian in
Oh,
my city. I spoke to one of his colleagues because I wanted to have do some interview. Get him on board to for an interview. And this man, at a point, decided to set up a foundation in Ghana. All right, a robotic foundation in Ghana. So we set up a robotic foundation in Ghana. And the first school that they went to was all girls school called a Methodist secondary school, Methodist girls school. And
mm-hmm.
guess what? This school in 2017, 2018, I think it's this school in 2020 or 2019 won the World Robot Festival. The world. They beat Japan, they beat US to become the number one they won the number one world robotic competition just
Mm-hmm.
because a chief engineer of NASA decided to come and build foundation to transfer knowledge to this all girls school to
Wow.
go to the US and compete for a bigger prize, and they won, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
means that when we get a transfer of knowledge back to Africa, we
Right.
can become the Wakanda that we see on TV.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's all it's going to take is us coming together, working together, and beginning to build from where we are today. I mean,
Yeah.
what happened to our history is unfortunate, but I feel like we can't keep dwelling on that. At some point in time, we have to begin to have different conversations of, what we gonna do now? Now this is the aftermath. So what are we gonna do better? What are we gonna do differently? How are we gonna, make this happen? And so slavery, it is what it is. And I feel like when you're coming back to Africa, it's a huge part of your journey, just, and taking that all in, all that information of, different things that took place here. Cause, just like you guys aren't privy to things that we experience in the States, we were not privy to things that happen here. So just coming here for the first time, like going to the slave castle, is like just a huge ball of emotion. Like, it's a lot to take in. And so it's something that you really have to prepare for. But I feel,
I can imagine.
what was that?
I can imagine because
Yeah,
feeling
like,
me
but
as an African,
yeah.
the feeling was crazy.
What was that? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I'm saying I can imagine how you felt the first time you went to the castle. I
Oh
can
yeah,
imagine it must be a very
it was
difficult time.
it was crazy because even before coming to Ghana, I knew nothing about. I never heard anything about the castle. Didn't know it existed. And so when I came and they was like, that was a part of the tour, I was just like, what is this all about? And when I went, I was just like blown away at just the history there and just the feel. Because even when you're walking through the castle, it's like an eerie kind of, almost like you could feel and experience what they went through. If you really just put yourself in that mindset and really just understood, the circumstances of that castle, it's like you just ask yourself, like, how? Like, how did anyone ever make it out of here? How did anybody even ever get to the point of getting on boats?
Yeah.
And it's a lot to take in. So it's something that you really have to be prepared for when you come in here. But I feel like after you get past, the initial introduction to this is how slavery went in Africa, now it's time to move on. And what am I going to do? Am I relocating? Am I investing? Am I investing and relocating? What's happening? So,
Yeah, and I believe when you come to Africa, you
hmm
feel that you belong here. That's what I think. You
right.
feel you belong here.
Yeah, already not seeing it in. What is this? Someone says, "Oh, I know that we are working together, but the youth are really not seeing it, and it's nasty." Online platforms like Twitter and TikTok. That's so true. And I feel like a lot of prayer has to happen for these youth, because these youth in America, especially, are really in, like, what is the word? Just a dark place, you know? And it's like everything centered around America right now is just demonic. It's targeting our youth to bring them down. For sure, targeting their mindset and just dumbing them completely down. Like, to the point where all they want to do is dance all day. And it's like they don't see outside of that. They don't see a life beyond that. And so I feel like a lot of prayer has to go into our youth. And really, it's all up to the parents as well to just get your kids out of that situation and show them the world. Bring them to Africa. Not just Africa, but bring them. Just allow your kids to explore different parts of the world, other than the country that they used to. Because I'm fearful. These youth have to take over, when we old and gray. What we gonna do? Because I would never feel comfortable leaving, all the things that we've worked for in the hands of these youth at the rate that they're going. So I feel like we really have to really make it a point to begin to speak life into these youth and be with them and work with them and show them something different other than what social media is teaching them. Because right now, that's their parents. TikTok's the parent, YouTube's the parent, Instagram's the parent, Facebook's the parent, and that's where they're going to for their inspiration, for their daily routines. That's just like their source of life. A lot of these youth can't even do without their phones for 5 minutes. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
And
it's very
so,
crazy.
really have to begin to, really start to bring these youth into a different direction. And for me, I feel like Africa is a big part of who they are. And it's so important for them to come here, have a trip here, and experience this culture, because it's for sure going to open up their mind and give them a different perspective on
Mm,
reality.
mm. Yeah, and I also believe, like you said, perfectly, rightly so.
Hmm.
I also think like what we are doing, more people should do same. I mean, we should Africans and African diaspora should have should to create platform to get token. All right, to get
Hmm.
token to like what you are doing. You have no idea. We did one couple of days on my channel, and surprisingly, I've had a lot of emails from especially from African diaspora, wanting to come to the show, all right? Because you know you may disagree, you may think whatever you want to think about each other, but blood is still thicker than water, all right? At the end of the day. So I think no matter what we have against each other,
Oh,
let the
your
bygones
service.
be bygones.
There's that Ghana service. Your service is cutting out a little bit.
Yeah. So whatever that happened, we should
Hmm.
just look past that and use that as an opportunity to
Hmm.
reaffirm or reassert the notion that this shouldn't happen again. That never should it be
Exactly.
that our world should be humiliated. It's about time we build something for ourselves because at the end of the day, when Africa becomes when Africa becomes like Europe, when Africa develops, all right, when Africa rightfully becomes a place that we all would be proud of, all right. I mean, we are proud of our continent. I'm talking about being a place where we develop, able to develop our human capacity, develop our resources, become a powerhouse.
Uh-huh.
Nobody would tell you in US or Europe that, hey, go back to Africa. All right.
Uh-huh.
Go
Hmm.
back to Africa. Someone tell to go back to Africa would be like a pride. All right. So I can say that it's in the interest of any black person that
Hmm.
Africa becomes the Africa that all of us would be proud of.
Exactly. I absolutely agree. Someone says, by the way, are you familiar with this book, Fighting the Slave Trade, West African Strategies by Sylvian? I'm not, but I will for sure look that book up and get it. Thank you for the
Yeah,
insight.
check it out.
I love reading, so let me know. Always drop a comment in the comment section if you have any ideas or any suggestions for reading because I love reading books. So I don't always get to. It's like I got like
Yeah.
three books that I'm reading all at the same time, and I've been reading these books for like the past 3 months because I just like read a chapter or two in between all that I have going on. So, but I love reading.
Wow.
So thank you for
Wow.
that.
Wow. Someone also wrote in the comment section that um, African Americans should arrange marriage with people from the continent to strengthen our connection.
Ah, I love that. Somebody else said that on a channel the other day. They commented. I love that idea. I think I
I,
responded.
I think we should create. Back in the days, we had something called pen pal. Um, my school, we had some exchange programs with some American schools. So sometimes we have American students come to our school, and
Hmm.
a few occasions we also have some of our students go there. All right. So we had something like we used to write each other letters and all that. So I would rather say we should build stronger relationship and connection because love can't be arranged, right? When
Hmm.
you meet someone and you like the person, you fall in love. I don't think love should necessarily be arranged. It can't be arranged, all right?
Hmm.
But I think we can foster better relationship. We can build knowing you. If you find love in that person, then why not?
But you know what? I kind of feel like that's happening right now anyway. What he says is like exactly the way things is going because I just feel like as more and
Yeah,
more African Americans are coming onto the African continent, they just finding love. Like, you
yes,
got so
yes.
many people in Africa that's tired of them in there. You got people here in Africa. We just get tired of each other in our own places. Like we want to see something different. And I feel like there's a lot of that cross unity happening between people from the diaspora and people here on a continent just getting together and getting married, having all them kids, it's a
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
yes,
So
yes,
I feel like
yes.
it's nature and nature is taking its course, happening anyway.
It's happening. It's happening. It's
Yeah.
true.
So I
And
feel
it's
like
a
that,
good thing.
that's kind of like out of our hands, but it is moving in that direction. So
Mm,
it's a
mm.
beautiful thing. So
It's indeed a
I
beautiful
don't know
thing.
yourself. Do you want to introduce yourself to everyone and let them know who you are and give them your channel so they can go over and check your channel out
Oh,
too?
okay, okay. I'm Emmanuel, or I'm Ekow Ekow is simply someone who was born on Thursday in Ghana. So in Ghana, when we say Yao or Ekow, it means someone who was born on Thursday. So literally, I'm Thursday Edu. That's my name. So I'm Ekow, and my channel name is Ekow Analyze. We talk about African American building better relationship between Africans and African Americans. I also bring to light wonderful things that is happening in Africa. All right. Pretty much that's what I'm a data analyst. So I do my job and I also do YouTube. And I love doing YouTube is something that I've come to find joy in. All right. Especially talking to someone like you is how do I say it? It's a dream. It's something that our ancestors dreamt of. Wish it would come true that one day your family, you guys can start talking again. You guys can have the opportunity to have a conversation. Can you imagine 200 years ago, maybe my sibling or my great grandfather or grandmother or my great grand uncle, whatever was whisked away and never would they return. And probably my family here probably prayed to whoever they prayed to say that one day, even if they don't get to talk, their descendants will get to talk. All right. So we having the opportunity to talk now, know that they are wherever they are smiling.
Yes, exactly. So happy about everything. I know that you said you had other engagements happening. You're a busy man, but I appreciate you for just taking your time out and joining us on this live. We have to absolutely do this again. So, everyone who tuned in, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. If you have any suggestions on future videos of us doing live collaborations, leave us some feedback, let us know. This is our first run. So, the audio may not have been that good, maybe
Oh, this is
even
the first one.
action going on in the background, but we wanted
Actually,
to, what was that?
this is your first video.
No, this is no. I've gone on live on the channel, but I like once or twice. This is my first collab video. I've never done a live collab video.
Oh, okay. Then I just made history. I just made history.
Exactly, exactly.
Thanks for
So
having me anytime.
I just appreciate you so much. It's been great conversation with him. Like I'm just a people person anyway, so I love just having conversations, and the conversation has been so great these past couple of days with you. So it's just a blessing to get this opportunity to just share it with the rest of the world. You know, and
Mm.
so
Wow.
yes, thank you so much for coming on, and we will have to do this again.
Sure.
Uh, I
Sure.
think that's. I don't think I have anything else to say.
Yeah. I
I
just want
think
to say thank you. I just want
yes,
to say thank you. And I pray this continues, that you can get a lot of people to come here to have good conversation because it's good for all of us.
right, exactly,
Get
exactly.
people, get people to sit down and talk.
Yes, yes, and and he's always like, we on the phone and we always laughing and joking because I was telling him like I don't like literally y'all. I don't know how I ended up like just sitting in front of the camera running my mouth. Like I'm so just into like touring around and eating and showing things that's going on in Ghana. So when the channel took a turn to the left, I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? But sometimes things happen beyond your understanding and you just gotta go with the flow. So, you always tell me that, you got to sit down and talk. So, as
Talk.
hard as it is, that's what I've been doing these last couple of videos. I really have just been sitting down and, talking.
Talk.
So, yeah. But
So thank
I
you
was,
for having me and good night, everyone.
yes, good night, good night, good night, all. Thank you for tuning in.